call Pastor Chris Bauer of St. James Episcopal Church forward to deliver our opening prayer.
Let us pray. Direct us, O Lord, in all our doings with thy most gracious favor, and further us with thy continual help, that in all our works begun, continued, and ended in thee, we may glorify thy holy name, and finally by thy mercy may obtain everlasting life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'll call the meeting of April 1st, 2013 of the Fergus Falls City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Rachel's.
Here.
Fish.
Here.
Cycles.
Here.
Runquist.
Here.
Sinsland.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Sinsland.
Here.
Shire.
Here.
All right, we don't have any public hearings tonight, so we'll move on to awarding of bids. The first item is a resolution to approve tree trimming bid from Midwest Tree and Maintenance for the 2013 tree removal and tree trimming agreement.
Good evening. In front of you, and it discussed at the committee meeting last Wednesday, was the tree bids for 2013 season. The low bidder was for Midwest Tree and Maintenance of Pelican Rapids. We've made a recommendation for the committee to recommend to council approval of this for the amount of the budget up to $55,000.
Any questions or comments? Anybody offer a resolution?
I'll offer that.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. I don't know why that was stuck in my head. I apologize. A roll call, please.
Rachel's.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Cycles.
Yes.
Runquist.
Yes.
Sinsland.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Sinsland.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
All right, next we'll move on to resolution to approve bid for refuse truck.
Yes, we went to bids for the refuse truck for replacing Unit 220 in February. We're looking for a recommendation to award a bid to McQueen Equipment in the amount of $133,000 for $133,411. This is there was two bids received. One withdrew their bid for able to meet the specifications. Therefore, that's why we're going with the next lowest bidder. McQueen is out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The replacement vehicle will be in about 90 days, and this truck would be funded out of the equipment fund, replacement fund. So I'm looking for a recommendation to award this bid.
Questions or comments for Ann?
Jen, is it possible to get the mileage? Do you know what the mileage was on this truck?
Bob, do you remember the mileage of this vehicle?
It's about 41,000 right now.
41. No, was it, that was 54.
Yeah, 54.
54,000 miles.
It still seems premature from my point of view.
It goes off service hours. Just
Yeah,
remember that we
I
have
know you
3
look at it on
refuse
a 5-year
trucks.
rotation.
That was one of, just so you know, that one of the reasons the other bidder withdrew their bids is they were out of a service area of Iowa. We cannot be down for 24 hours, so serviceability is very important for us, and the company that we're looking to award this from is out of Minneapolis. One of the things that we've talked about is coming back, and when we do our equipment through the budget cycle, going through the Fleet and Facilities Program and explaining to you the rationales of our replacement schedules for vehicles if there's further questions.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll offer the resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Rachel's.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Cycles.
Yes.
Runquist.
Yes.
Sinsland.
Yes.
Hicks.
Nay.
Sinsland.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
All right. Next, we'll move on to petitions and communications. And we have a request of the City Council to use the Regional Treatment Center for a photography project called Project Kirkbride. We'll be presenting from the city on that tonight.
I'll be glad to answer any questions, but the proposal was submitted with a request to be before the council. just if someone was here to talk on that behalf.
Okay. Everyone on the council, I'm sure, has read both the official proposal and the staff response, I would guess, right? Is there anybody here? I know that I don't believe Christian Van Antwerpen is here. Is there someone here to speak on behalf of Project Kirkbride?
I am, yeah. John Olson, and Christian asked me to come and speak on his behalf this evening, or this afternoon. You want...
Go ahead and give us the...
Okay.
You're aware, I would imagine that you're aware of the things that were put in place at the last meeting, the set of, maybe not rules, but guidelines that we're supposed to follow, or that the council decided to follow after recommendation from staff. I understand that there are some special things that would not maybe fit those guidelines that you might be asking for, or Christian Van Antwerpen might be asking for, right?
Right.
If you could lay those out to us, and then
Yeah.
what your thoughts are behind those.
Yes, and Mark and I met on Thursday, and he did go over some of those things as well, but I was aware of them in advance. And I think I'll just draw your attention to the proposal to begin with, as it was presented to you. And the idea behind the proposal is to photograph the building in its entirety, inside and out. And I think the photographers understand that this is a unique time in the life of the building, because likely the building is going to change, whether that means demolition or if there's a developer that is found who changes the building to some degree. So the idea is to get in and out of the building in 3 hours with 35 photographers that would be coming from around the United States. There would be some local photographers, but others are coming from Michigan, Massachusetts, and other areas around the country. The idea is to get in and out of the building in 3 hours, and Christian has a plan, has people dedicated to certain areas of the building, move in and out, photograph, and be out of the building by the time that he said, I believe it was 3 o'clock on May 4th. And just to address a couple of things that are related to the issues that the council has addressed in the past with groups using the building. Christian and the photographers are looking to secure all the necessary safety equipment to get in areas that have been deemed unsafe. And they've also secured, if the council demands it, they can secure insurance for that time period, for that weekend, so it would address the concern about insurance as well. Let's see, what else can I tell you? I'm a part of the Friends of the Kirkbride, and I'm speaking for myself and the Friends, I would guess, to say that we feel that this project has value. It has value to people who are interested in the building itself for its historical value. Also has value to our community, bringing in several people from outside of the Fergus Falls area who would be staying here, eating in our restaurants. There would be economic value to the city. And but beyond that, we're most interested in the value that it has. In the end, when the pictures are put together, there would be an interactive website where folks could go on, view the building in its entirety, and get a sort of a large view of the whole building, and we see great value in that. So that's the proposal, and my understanding is that it's the council's decision as to the worth of the project, as Mark said. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Question, Ben?
I don't necessarily have a question at this point, no.
Go ahead, Jim.
I have one. Where is the plan? We would like to see that plan of how he's going to get in there and get out of there in 3 hours. I don't think it's possible.
Okay. The plan is the 35 people are all designated in
the west, east, and central part of the building. And they've all got areas assigned to them. I don't have that, Jim, so I can't provide that for you, but just to tell you that the 35 are dedicated to certain areas in the building. They're assigned to certain areas. Those are the areas that they go into, they photograph, and they come out. Mark suggested, and I think it's a good idea as well, that somebody writes down names as photographers are coming into the building, and as they come out, they sign their name. Their part of the project is finished, and then they may be involved in photographing the outside of the building.
I think we would kind of like to know the names of the photographers ahead of time, see who we've got coming in here also.
And Christian could supply that, Jim. Again, I don't have that.
But he has not done that.
Yeah, and the names don't mean anything to me because they're people that I don't know. Some are local though, like Holly Diesler, Holly D photography from Fergus Falls. She would be one of them, but there are others as well. Locally that you might know, but most of them are from out of state. So, but he could supply that if that were a concern.
One comment on that note, if I could, is this isn't the first Kirkbride. Is that correct? That Mr.
Correct. They have gone and photographed other Kirkbrides. So this is.
You have experience in this size and scope of a.
Yep. Project. Yep. And you can go. Website or talk to Christian, and he would tell you they've done a number of, in fact, they just did a recent one in Michigan, Saturday.
Yeah, I see a discrepancy in the materials submitted by the project versus what the city has responded concerning security for the project. I see that the project has proposed a 12-person security crew, whereas the city wishes to provide its own staff to provide those services. In your recent discussion with Mr. Sievert, did you come to any sort of agreements regarding that issue?
We did not. So that would be something for the council to address and decide.
I know one issue has been that I think we've gotten some different information at times about this is the first that I understood there would be multiple sessions of photography, but now we're talking about one singular blast of photography.
Correct.
In 3 hours on May 4th. The rest of it is tours on 2 different occasions, and those would be people probably who would these?
The tours, I asked Christian about that, and his idea was that the photographers, when they come and they're assigned to different locations within the building on the Saturday, they may want to come in, if they're flying in on Friday, they might want to go through the Friends of the Kirkbride tour, just to get a little sense of the building outside of the areas that they're going to photograph. And then some would be coming on the day of, actual day of photography, and they may stay then till Sunday and also would like to just see a little bit more of the building that the Friends would tour them through.
So outside of, to clarify, outside of May 4th, from 12 till 3, you're talking about the rest would be guided, basically the Friends of the Kirkbride putting on their regular standard tour.
Correct.
In the same areas they've always put on the regular standard tour and nowhere else.
Correct.
So our area of concern, our window of concern is these 3 hours where we will need security. See, I didn't understand that was the case before hearing this today. I heard multiple times, multiple sessions of photography, so I think clarification is part of the issue, right? I think the people that are going to provide, I can only speak for myself, but I think the city's been pretty clear that we want to provide the security because we're the people at risk if something happens, but I think that they need to know ahead of time exactly what it is. How do we propose to, I personally don't have a problem with getting this photographed, but how do we get the right information to everybody so we can make an informed decision?
I think that has been an issue, Jay. Thank you.
So how do we do that? What can we do to get this done so that Mark or Kyle or anybody else, or so that we know that we're putting them in the right place? What's going to happen in the next 2 weeks to get us there, do you think, or what needs to happen?
I have, in just reviewing both documents, one of the items that becomes clear is the proposal wants to do a 100% photograph of all areas, And our current position is that there's certain areas that would be off limits, and I'm wondering if that is a showstopper.
It would be, the tunnels are not a showstopper. I asked Christian about that. I said, what's the sacred cow here? And he said the tunnels, he'd love to get in the tunnels and take pictures. They're part of the place, but he understands there may be water in there, given the amount of snow this year, that kind of thing, that it just may not be physically possible. The east wing, with the mold issues, they're willing to secure the appropriate equipment so they can get in and out of there, photograph, and to do just the west wing and the center portion of the building, I think Christian would say that it compromises the intent of the project and would not be worth their effort to make the trip here.
And so I just, following that steps, this council member needs to make sure that our staff has addressed those issues to make sure that those off-limits areas are adequately addressed for liability concerns. Because even if there's a waiver of liability, I think there perhaps could be some issues related to that, but
You're always open to a challenge on anything that
We have to go in there, right? Our people are going to be in there. That's another issue, is if the photographers, that's fine, but our people have to go in there too. That's another issue.
What's the difference, I'm going to kind of direct both this to Mark and John. What's the difference between the proposal now that they sent us, that there'll only be 3 hours, and what you guys laid out to kind of answer that? There's 3 days of 8 hours each day, and now we're only down to 3 hours for one day. So I don't.
Yeah. There's actually two different proposals. One that you probably saw that was faxed to the mayor back in January.
Okay.
And that had a lot of different dates and times, evenings and some things like that. And then when the proposal that came out, I believe, May 21st, talked about, the tours on Friday and Sunday, and then a block of time on Saturday. And I had talked with Christian back after the committee meeting on the 13th, before a lot of the general parameters were going to be. And at that time, I said, you really need to come here and meet with me and staff so we can get an understanding where you want to go. And he just said, well, I got 45 people at the time. I'm going to go everywhere. And I said, well, we got to somehow be able to get a handle on that, because I don't think I can come up with enough staff that even know how to guide people around in all of those particular areas. So basically what we tried to do is just interpret the proposal as best as we could, or to make some assumptions that if we couldn't accommodate, one staff with every photographer or a couple of photographers or whatever, is that probably the best we could do is just say, you know what, we'll make these blocks of times available. And until we get any more detail, that was the best that I could come up with.
I could just mention that I think proposals evolve, and through conversations with Mark, Christian realized that it needed to take a different shape than it had to begin with. And so that was helpful. I think it's a more refined proposal compared to what was sent out earlier. In visiting with Mark too, there is a little bit of a time crunch. We're looking at May 4, and I did talk to Christian about, what about something in the summer? Maybe there's more time to work out some of the details. And his response was, we're all for professional photographers. We're booked with weddings all summer long. And, it's their livelihood, and I do understand that. It's they're viewing it as a certain opportunity, this time frame to come in while they're available. They're not paid to do this. This is volunteer, and they're at their own expense. So,
I just had a couple comments, I guess, and I do see. Thank you for bringing this up and kind of answering some of our questions. I do see value to this from a community, from a historical perspective. And I think that when we talked about this issue as far as the restrictions, we all agreed that, the city has the ability and the right and should protect itself with liability and also recoup the costs. But I think it was also clear, at least from my perspective, that we didn't want this new policy to prohibit projects that benefit the city from happening. And I'm afraid that's what's happening here. I think there's a compromise that needs to happen. I don't know, I think, to take what you said, Jay, I don't know exactly where that is or how we get there. The one thing is, the one thing in the project that I do question is the east wing and how we address the liability with hazardous materials. That's the one thing that I do maybe question in this proposal. But other than that, I want to see the city, I want to see these kind of projects continue to happen while at the same time reasonably recouping our costs. I think that's something that we can work through.
Go ahead, Jim. Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, that I think this project is highly worthwhile, and I would love to see it happen, and I would love to presume that it will happen. Having said that, I see the two sides being fairly far apart at this juncture. It was over here, I see it here now. And I guess my question to you and the group in general is whether, say, a 2-week time frame to come back with more specifics to clarify some of these ambiguities would be sufficient from the perspective of the projects to allow time for it to still happen, say a 2-week time frame.
And that, I understand that, thank you. One of the issues, if it's a requirement to have insurance, they need to secure that tomorrow. I think they have a month, there's a month period of time where they need to apply for it and to be accepted. So I think Christian needs, he needs to know if this is a workable project, if there is some middle ground or some compromise that this can happen before they go ahead and pay for insurance, and others are still finishing up flight details or travel details, and many of them have already secured travel arrangements, but since the city gave a certain response to the project, people have been kind of on hold, waiting to see what's going to happen. So I'm all for working out some details, just not sure how that happens.
Does anybody, if I'll try to simplify it just in my mind, is anybody here worried about the touring part of it? I'm not.
No.
So we're really, staff, do you guys have any worries about, outside of this?
Are you talking Friday and Saturday, Jay?
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to know.
Or Friday and Sunday.
Can we just get to are we to the point where we just got to figure out these 3 hours?
Well, that's fine, and my response to that is that what I was given was, it said, they went on to say that we would not need city assistance on Friday and Saturday tours, because that would be in conjunction with the Friends Group, and it'd be an extended for larger coverage of the building. Well, then that gets back to the point of, like we've said before, if it's a standard Friends Group tour.
That's what I asked. That's why I asked.
That's fine. But I do also have a concern, and this is a conversation that John and I had, is that I just did the best as I could of, the amount of staff, the dollar amount, and it may sound like it's a lot of money, but that's the best that I could do with the limited information that I had. John asked the question, well, is there a way that you could maybe only have one person on Friday or Sunday? Well, yeah, maybe there is, but I don't know what Christian's plan is. And likewise but I estimated, 6 staff on Saturday. If it's going to be for 12 to 3, I'm probably going to have people there from 11 to 4, probably. But also, now I've got 6 people, or do I have 4, or do I have 17? Because I don't know, if he's going to have 35 people, do they all know where to go and how to get there and get through the doors and, and those types of things? And then I don't know how many people does he want in the east wing if I'm going to try to come up with some type of protective equipment, for them to wear and for my staff to wear.
I understand it. Certainly, I'm not being I'm not being critical of you or any of the stuff you put together, because I know we've got mixed messages. My question earlier was on point is, and I see that now, it says, as coordinated with Gina Maxine, Friends of Kirkbride, extended to larger coverage. I would feel good if Friends of the Kirkbride, and we could say to Kristen Van Antwerp, we don't care about the tours. Do the tours the way they are, though. Don't be running all over the place, right? Do Friends of the Kirkbride tour on the 2 days that we're not photographing. Because then I don't have any concern about that. The Friends of the Kirkbride have run tours there without problems, and I don't have a problem with that. And then, I don't know if you people there can tell me that, the Friends of the Kirkbride are you, because then I'm only worried about the 3 hours and an hour on each side that I have to tell or we have to convey to the city staff of when to be there and how we're gonna do that. Is that reasonable? Can you guys tell us that? Or are we gonna have a sticking point on extending the tour so that then we have to think about, do we need someone there by?
Extending the tour on Friday and Sunday, Jay?
Right, because the tours should be in coordination with Friends of the Kirkbride, but extended for larger coverage of the building. If anyone can answer, please come up and tell us, because I think that would make it easier for us to just focus on the day of photography.
I don't think that that's a deal breaker by any means.
Okay. You could come forward, Maxine, and share what you might want.
I wasn't going to say anything tonight, Jay.
That's okay.
I think once again you are so worried about what ifs. What ifs. You can't make rules and regulations because of what ifs, because what ifs are going to happen, period. We have been in that building so much, in every inch of that building, and I really question what is so awful about East Detached. Where we go on our tours, yes, there is some cleanup needed, which Kyle told us that was going to be taken care of. Otherwise, I don't see that there is a major problem with East Detached, that it has to be totally off limits. And I wish someone would explain that to me. But as far as the Friends of the Kirkbride tours, if that's what you want us to do, is only what we do on our regular tours, I don't think Kristen would have a problem with that. And we certainly don't have a problem with that. We do, we keep the people with us. We don't allow them to wander off all over the building.
Well, just for me, it makes it easier for me to think about the day of photography if I don't have to worry about staff and security for those other days. And I think, be hopeful. We're trying to make this work. That's what we're talking about. We're trying to get there. I don't know about East Detached yet, but we're talking about it right now. So no one's being mean about that. We're trying to figure it out here. Okay. Is that okay?
Okay.
You guys think you can agree to that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When I asked Christian about that, people are coming, literally Michigan, Massachusetts, all over, and he's thinking if they just come on Saturday, you go up to this floor, you've got this X number of rooms to shoot.
They won't get to see
They're going to
the whole
feel
tour,
kind of
right?
cheated of what's the sense of the rest of the building. And I think he would have loved to have gone in and looked at other parts, but I also think that he realizes the project is more important than getting people through great parts of the building. If they can get through some of it with the Friends tour, I think he would be very pleased with that.
Okay. You should be able to watch the photographs afterwards.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you. Go ahead, Stan.
One other question is, I guess we haven't really talked about the staff recommendation for $5,000 deposit. You're fine with that?
I think Christian would say that would be a deal breaker, the $5,000. This is well, Chris, do you want to speak to that a little bit? The fundraising has sort of come to a halt, knowing the city's response to even see if this is going to happen.
Well, the Historical Society has agreed to act simply as fiscal hosts for this project. Money, we'll just as the legal entity so people can contribute to a nonprofit organization. And as of right now, there's probably $300 and some odd that has come in designated to that project. So fundraising has not been up to what they had hoped.
Okay.
But that's all I can.
Go ahead, Ben.
I had a question on the, when we talked about that policy and the number of city staff that's going to be, and I know they say that they're going to have their own security crew come in, and we kind of said, no, you're not going to have your own security. But I'm wondering if there's some way, again, we talked about, having this fluid document, or at least that we work through with a couple of projects to make it work. If there's a way of, we have to have city staff, but if it's a project that's supported by the Friends of the Kirkbride and our people who know that building, why couldn't we have, if there's a group of 6 people there and there's one and there's someone from the city, obviously, that's ultimately in charge, but rather than trying to go one for one, I mean, I know you're not going one for one, but even having 6 or 8 people seems, maybe we could get by with less. I don't know. Is that something we could?
Get by with however few.
I just make a comment. I just would like to make a comment, though. I mean, you were talking about policies and relating to the facilities that we've been told by our insurance trust that we've got to be concerned about. And Kyle has had conversations with our insurance trust with those individuals that have gone through, and they're the ones that are dictating. This would be an insurance issue as well, which brings up another point that I would have to you on this matter is, what is the corporate entity behind all of this, other than the fiscal host for a nonprofit? That's fine. But is there a corporate entity that can actually obtain an insurance policy to protect your photographers coming in?
Christians has insurance available, and
For a project like this?
yes, correct.
Personal insurance?
No,
So he's incorporated under some...
I don't know that he's...
But we don't know that.
All he told me is if the council insists on it, he has got that ready to roll.
Okay, I mean, because the information that's provided here, again, doesn't indicate that there's a corporate entity that's going to be even able to obtain an insurance policy covering your photographers, your invitees coming onto the property.
And I would say he's not a corporate entity. This is not a corporate entity.
Then I'd have some concerns as to whether you could, as an individual, go to your insurance agent and say, I want a policy that's going to cover these people coming in on a nonprofit basis. I mean, he's going to have, as indicated here, a certificate of insurance that is specific to this project.
That's all it is.
He should be able to obtain some certificate issued by an insurance company that would satisfy that requirement without having to pay a premium, some type of a commitment that we would insure this type of project, and he probably should have that as well.
I didn't understand the second part of that,
He should be able to obtain a commitment from his insurance entity.
Yeah.
Saying, we would insure this.
He has that commitment.
Okay, well, that isn't included in here.
It wasn't because he didn't think that it would get that far. And when the response is coming back from the city, then he started doing work and...
Well, that's an additional concern. I mean,
Yep.
He should understand that should be included.
I asked him about that, what are the deal breakers here, and the insurance, I operate in a church and insurance is a big deal, and he said that they've got it ready to roll if he feels there's enough support from the council and enough interest, if you see enough value in it, but he does need to get that in motion, I believe tomorrow, so.
What to try to get this, keep moving along, either Kyle or Mark or both of you, what do you feel if we say, okay, we're on this 3-hour time window, we're going to have 35 people in here, the friends will be there, but we understand we're responsible for our security. What do you two recommend that we have for city employees there?
Well, I'm not sure of that many people. We're going to have to just end up letting some walk up on their own, because I don't think, we have enough city staff people that, even know the facility. At the budget they got, I think we couldn't quite afford one person, for 5 hours.
Right.
So, I think what they're saying is they can't afford it, and I don't think you could just go with one person. I think we probably have to come up with at least, maybe a half a dozen people, and we'll just try to, keep best track of it as we can.
Okay.
I think, what would be appropriate for Christian to do is start getting us some of that background information ASAP, which, I've been asking for a couple of weeks. Get us that preliminary commitment on insurance, get us the list of the people who's going to be there so we can get some idea of how we, coordinate all those things. And, we'll do the best as we can of providing, some type of safety equipment, but I'm just going to let those people have free rein on the east wing, because I'm not going to ask our people to go in there.
Well, is it our responsibility, you're under the impression it's our responsibility to give people hazmat gear? Or they're bringing their own hazmat gear? Or they're signing a waiver?
I would prefer that they do their own, they can sign a waiver.
Yeah, I don't think the city's gonna give them hazmat gear, right?
No.
I mean, I wasn't expecting that.
Apparently, they have their own suits and
Yeah.
respirators.
Okay. I mean, I think part of the big thing was, anywhere we go, we have OSHA protective equipment, right? So they, part of that is, you can't, well, I don't know, I'm not a mold expert, but wherever they need it, they'll have to wear it, and they'll have to sign a waiver, and they'll have to have insurance. Go ahead, Scott.
I think where we're at is just the monetary part of this deal, and I think we have to, if we vary away from that charging, we're just gonna just open the door to people, future people who want to come here and do whatever. I think that this, what's his name again? No, I can't, too many people, too many names going on.
The Christian?
Christian needs to come here, meet with Mark, lay it all out in the line, and we didn't pick the date. I mean, he picked the date without even asking us. So we can't put that on our shoulders that we got to hurry up and get this done, because he didn't even ask for permission. Am I right, Mark? Ask us to come and do it. He's planned it out, and then all of a sudden.
When the mayor received the original proposal back in January, he brought that into my office. And I contacted Christian, within a couple of days of that. And we had a conversation, and what I told him was that we were working on a security and a safety, plan that we would be bringing to the council as soon as we could. And that I didn't know what all the parameters of that were going to be. I knew he was looking at the first week in May, and I said, I don't know why we can't, get something together, but I said I can't guarantee anything.
Right.
And then I just kept in contact with him when when this started in the middle of March. But like I said, the unfortunate thing is that if he had come here and laid all this stuff out, we could have just come in with a particular recommendation. And as you see, the time frame that he's looking at has gone all the way from a 24-hour time period down to 3 hours. And, I just don't see how that all lays out.
Like Tim said, I mean, we're this far apart now, we're closer yet. I mean, if he gets here, I don't think this is a problem. There's going to be some cost. We know that right now, how much cost it's going to be, but I just feel that we have to stick to our plan we come up with, what the staff worked on for 3 months, and we just can't just take it out just because of what he wants to do. We got to stick to it. I mean, I know it's a good project, but I just.
Yeah, and just a couple of responses to that is, there was conversation back in January, and there was some verbal, not consent, but verbal encouragement that it would likely happen. And the other thing then, there was the unfolding, what the city came up with, kind of the guidelines. Well, part of that feels like the rules changed during the game. So Christian has been trying to tweak things as he's getting information from the city as well.
There was no rules when they talked in January, because we closed it down and we worked on, he knew that we were working on it. And now that we have those rules in place, we have to work with that parameter and just go with it as a responsibility to our insurance company. And so.
Yep, I do understand that. I guess another response is, this is a nonprofit trying to benefit the community and the larger society, saying that we have something to offer, and we're doing this, we're volunteering our time. The money that they had earmarked for the fundraising was intended to be for website development. They weren't anticipating a $5,000 deposit for the project, so.
We're probably not at the $5,000 mark anymore, because we've narrowed this up considerably. So I think that he needs to get here and sit down and talk and do it. And
he works full-time and has a family, and he's.
But as far as insurance, I believe if you apply for that insurance, I think you don't have to pay for it. I mean, you can get like Ralph said, you can get the policy that they are going to do this as soon as he does.
Well, if I could maybe just kind of cut to the chase.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was you or Chris said that he got $350.
Yep.
That's it. Well, I mean, if I had 6 staff people for 5 hours, that's $1,800, or that's an estimate.
I mean, then that's a good question, I guess, for people up here.
Yeah.
I find value in this as well, but I was not thinking that our people were going to volunteer their time. If we have to have city workers there, which I think we do, they have to pay for at least that. I'm not asking for some rental fee, or it wouldn't be my opinion to do that, but at least pay for the security.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I would question if we need 6 people. If we do have.
With 35 people there?
Okay, well, I'll say this. We also let the Friends of the Kirkbride take how many people through there too. And I know it's a different situation, but if we have the Friends of the Kirkbride know that building far better, I think, than probably most staff, I would say. And if they're there, they're willing to volunteer. Why couldn't we have? I don't see why we couldn't have a couple city staff there, responsible, making sure that things are not, people are going places they shouldn't. But I don't know why 6 is better than 2 if they're not the ones that are actually being the.
That's the way you want it. I'll work with 2 people. I don't think we're going to be able to just show up at noon. I mean, I think we got to have some shoulder time because it's not going to be get done in 3 hours. And so if I just give an estimate, I've got 5 hours, 2 people, that's 10 hours, and just at $60, that's $600. And electricity, and I'll go back and calculate it right to the exact penny of what it ends up being, and either give money back or send them another bill. But I guess what I'm still saying is that we're still twice our budget.
Sure, and I'm not saying that it has to be $350. I understand there's going to be a cost. The city has a right to recoup their costs. I just don't want to see it be excessive to stop projects from happening. The policy wasn't intended, in my opinion.
Yeah, presuming that there's sufficient encouragement for the group to continue to want to negotiate and proceed, is there any reason why between now and the proposed time of the project, why more fundraising couldn't occur?
It would occur depending on what happens tonight. I think things were gaining some momentum, word was getting out, and then when it was clear that there were going to be some issues to iron out, I think everything got put on hold. Christian's response was, I don't want people sending money and then having to figure out how to get it back to them if the project doesn't happen.
I think we kind of seem to have a classic chicken and egg, really. It's, as you say, Christensen approached, obviously, in January, and here we are in April discussing it. And, both parties have some, quote, responsibility and blame as such. But I think, following up from what Ben's saying, if we could limit the staff and then, ask the Friends of the Kirkbride to step in as being additional security, we could control the movements of the people, by that. And if we're logging them in and we're logging them out, we'll know where they are within the building. I mean, I think that's a good idea anyway.
Let me ask one question. I do think that, you're going to be asking, at a minimum, you're going to be asking for some type of indemnification that would be signed by anyone that comes in there, which is going to have to be drafted by our insurance trust. And I guess my suggestion would be is, whether or not that would be acceptable to even begin with probably needs to be fielded by the insurance trust, because that's the neck that's sticking out here. Whether or not they're comfortable with allowing the Friends group to simply expand their tours to areas where they've basically have said, we don't want the public going to. So, I mean, I think that, unless you want to can the insurance trust and self-insured, which I wouldn't recommend, but I think that's an issue that really should be addressed by the insurance trust in particular.
I'm interested in whether, I don't, insurance, whenever we say insurance in today's society, it's always scary, and I do just as much giving litigation things a bad name as anybody else because I'm in that field. But, I mean, if we're going to go down that path, then we're going to start asking, can the Friends be in there at all, and how many people can they have at a time, and this and this and that. What you're saying makes sense, and I know it makes sense legally and to avoid litigation and those things. But I have thought from the beginning when I read that we would need 10 people or X number of people, that I thought that was, quite frankly, if we're having an open and honest discussion about it and the insurance trust could look at what we're doing and talking about today, and we're assessing risk as we talk about that, that's what insurance is. If we have 3 to 5 people and the Friends of the Kirkbride are there, I think that we can accommodate 35 people in a 3-hour time frame. That's just my own personal opinion. I think what makes some sense is to deliver Christian Van Antwerp a message tomorrow, this is just my thought, that says, A, you must have insurance. B, you're all going to have to sign waivers. C, we have to know who you are. D, you need to put down $1,000 or $1,500 to cover costs. If it gets spent, it gets spent. It's the cost of our security staff. If it doesn't, well, we can give some back to you. But I don't want, I understand this is an issue where you have these, always have these rival groups competing. And you're right, Scott, we can't just waive costs and be treating certain groups different than others. The policy is there, the guidelines are there. But I don't think this is such a difficult issue that we can't give him something tomorrow that he needs to get to us by tomorrow afternoon that we can get this done. Right? I personally am just, if we pick a number that we think fairly covers our costs, $1,000 or $1,500, get the insurance, do those things, I think you guys would be able to raise the money to get it done. I would believe that you'd be able to do that.
I would put a figure of 2,000 instead of 1,500.
You like two. What is everyone, I don't know, what do you guys think? Or staff or anybody else?
I like one.
I would say one. I think we've done enough things where people have actually been around the curb right for profit. There was the haunted house thing last fall. So, now all of a sudden we've become mercenaries and we basically, we want to extract every penny that we can possibly get. So.
It isn't about extracting pennies. All we're trying to do is cover costs. Okay, nothing more.
Go ahead, Scott.
And just to, back with the things that were done before, we did take some money out of it, but we lost a lot of money, a lot of time, and that's not what we're here for. We're here to make sure we could at least recoup our costs. And I disagree with you, Anthony, that we're not out looking for every nickel. We're just looking to stay even. And that's our job, is to make this, we're going to get nailed. If we, give somewhere, they're going to call, it's going to be another can of worms opened up. So I just believe that Stan wants 2,000, everybody wants 1,000. We'll just go with the 1,500, like Jay said, and just.
Right down the middle.
Let's do her up.
Let's compromise. Compromise is a good thing.
And insurance, he can go after his insurance and get that waiver, and it won't cost him a nickel until he needs it, and he's got to write a check for it. So he'll get you can be able to fax us a copy that they'll insure him for this. It'll be just fine. And the $1,500 in the next, 2 weeks, and we're good to go.
I'd like to go back to Rolf's concern about the insurance trust documentation that needs to be had for that to take place.
Well, at a minimum, I would ask the insurance trust to draft whatever waiver they think would be appropriate for this type of activity. The insurance trust, for everyone's information, it's League of Minnesota Cities offers an insurance program for cities, and it provides liability and other types of coverage. And there's a lot of cities that participate in that, which we do. And the more cities that do participate, the costs of the policy are free and adverse benefit to everyone. So, yes, that would be at a minimum. I would recommend that the insurance trust provide whatever document it feels it should be signed by these photographers and any other volunteer that goes into the facility. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, the insurance trust understands the route that the Friends Group currently goes through, does it not? And that route is approved by the insurance trust, is it?
Yes, we, in meeting with the insurance trust, we talked about trained volunteers having insurance for volunteers for those types of tours. That is fine. What we did as staff is went through the areas of the Kirkbride with a member of the insurance trust, finding those problematic areas. Again, most of those areas are more of an environmental hazard, respiratory, things that would be prone for people to get respiratory infections, whether it be mold, could be bird or bat droppings. Some of those areas are easily cleaned up, and we're working on cleaning some of that up. But there's other areas where mold infestation is just beyond our control. So those the areas that were targeted to be closed were for those particular reasons.
So the concern that I have is what do we do if the insurance trust comes back and says, here's an indemnification, but we're going to allow this in these areas, but we're not going to cover you in these other areas? And I don't know the answer to that, and that's a concern that I do have.
Well, isn't that why they'd be getting their own insurance though, and then also signing waivers and indemnifications? Our insurance doesn't have to cover them if they develop melatonin or lung cancer. That's on their insurance. Right, I mean,
I would hope that the insurance companies would agree that, yes, this is the purpose of the reason that you have this additional coverage. But as you know, that anything can be litigated, and just because you get your foot in the door doesn't necessarily mean you should, but you can. And so, I mean, that's the concern that I have, at least as it relates with our insurance trust.
And I'll just, add one more thing about, allowing people to go into areas that have been deemed hazardous. Is one thing for that private person to go in there, but we also have city employees, and as a city, we're responsible for those employees at a different level. And it isn't as simple as saying, that we'll just, instead of having 4 people do it, we'll just have 1 person do it, because there's set procedures, set protocols that govern, certain hazards like that. So what might apply to a private person, it's a total different set of rules when we're talking about employees. And a trained volunteer, I believe, would also fall under, the city has some obligation for volunteers as well. It's not just, you can make one a private person and one a public employee. When they're acting on your behalf, you have to take certain safeguards for that.
what else, anybody else? Well, so far we've talked about they must have an insurance certificate delivered covering all of the photographers. They must, basically, if our insurance trust drafts an indemnification or a waiver, they're just going to have to accept what it says, right? Whatever our insurance trust recommends, they got to sign. $1,500 deposit. Some people wanted 2, some wanted 1, but hopefully we could get something done at 15. We'll see. What else do we need to talk about? East Wing.
We wanted to have a list of their people.
List of people.
I would like to have a list of people and where they're going to be.
Yeah.
Because he says he has that plan.
He
I'd
does.
like to see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. A number of things that I'd outlined that I will communicate back so that I hope we're still on the same page is that we're looking at a 3-hour period here on May 4th from 12 to 3. And I've made my people available from 11 to 4. As you stated, Jay, is that the city's not going to provide safety equipment, that they're going to provide that on their own. There's insurance requirement. We want a list of all people, what their role is, and where they're going to be. The East Wing will be available, but the tunnels will not. The tours, or any tours that were to take place on Friday or Sunday, would be the typical Friends of the Kirkbride group tour. There'd be the waivers, as it mentioned. We would require a log in and log out to make sure we know who's coming and going. And that's one of the other things is that what we're going to be adamant about is that you tell me who's going to be there. That's all who I want to see there. If you want them there, you put them on the list and tell me why they're going to be there. Otherwise, I'm not going to be trying to herding cats outside the building when I got all these people inside the building. And that's why we're going to walk people in and out. They're going to be there for a specific purpose. And then the asking for a $1,500 deposit. And I will ask him to respond to me in these things as soon as possible so that we can start communicating on this, because I don't want him showing up on Friday and none of these things are taken care of and thinks he's going to give me a certificate of insurance on the spot, because it's just not any thing to do with the burn that. So.
Right.
When do you want the deposit by? Can we go 3 weeks out on that, or?
I'm fine if I get, something, like from the monetary standpoint, a week ahead of time, something like that, that's fine. But, I just want to get him communicating with me on these details here, because that's where we've had the problems.
Okay. And are there any issues with photographing the outside of the building when they're done in the inside.
You do that anytime.
Have at her.
All right.
Knock yourself
Yep. Okay.
Can I just ask another thing? Have we started to pump the RTC yet? Have we switched the pumps on? Have we gone to?
Speak up, please.
We're just discussing, because I don't know the answer. Just
All right. I didn't hear what Anthony said either.
So we'll get back to you, but.
We'll do it as soon as we can.
I was just asking when the pumps are gonna get switched on, because the snow's melting, so the tunnels and things are gonna start, I bet there's water in them now.
That's groundwater.
Yeah, that's coming from the, it's coming from the, but pumps are they bring them down from the skylights, they're not there now. They gotta bring them down and they're portable.
Yeah, procedurally, do we need to present a list of issues to present to Christian, or is this going to proceed in an informal manner?
Yeah, do we want to make this an action item that says those are demands and?
I think you've given instructions to the city administrator, and I would assume that between now and the next 2 weeks that he can report back at the next council meeting as to X, Y, and Z, and then give you an update on that. And I think what you've given him is instructions that we want this to happen, but we want those things that you enumerated accomplished.
Okay, can we move to then table this particular resolution, this particular issue until 2 weeks from tonight?
I think just simply, even just a motion, just giving some direction to the city administrator is fine. So, I mean,
Well, I would offer that particular motion to direct the city administrator to present those particular issues to the project head to be resolved in a manner to be determined.
I'll second you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you all for your time, too.
All right, we'll move on to the open forum. Do we have any open forum requests? We don't have any open forum requests, so off with that. Consent agenda, the following are non-controversial items intended to be approved with one motion without discussion. If anybody, council member, staff, or member of the public would like to discuss an item, please ask it be removed and it will be placed elsewhere on the agenda. 1, a resolution to approve fire department trust fund transfer. 2, resolution to authorize the obtaining of appraisals for a future right-of-way. 3, resolution to initiate a public improvement 5269, the Vernon Avenue Street Project. 4, resolution to approve amendment number 1 to the consulting agreement with Interstate Engineering, Port Authority property west of County Highway 111. 5, resolution to approve outstate travel policy for elected officials. 6, resolution in support of local government aid reform, including an additional appropriation of $80 million for local government aid. 7, resolution of support for Greater Minnesota Economic Development Partnership bills. 8, motion to approve minutes from March 18th, 2013 meeting. 9, motion to approve licenses. Anyone offer that resolution?
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Rachel.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Stichels.
Yes.
Rundquist.
Yes.
Kinstler.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Sinstler.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Under ordinances and resolutions, we don't have any first or second readings. We have a resolution to approve engineering proposal for public improvement 5269, the Vernon Avenue Street Project.
On your desk tonight, I placed a proposal that Moore Engineering had presented to Ann and myself this afternoon as far as doing the preliminary engineering report, which would be the first step in the Vernon Avenue project. It's pretty much outlines what we talked about at the last meeting. That is, the report will include analysis of the utilities under the street, particularly the water main, which we know needs to be increased in size, but also to see if there's anything on this particular project that we would want to do in terms of our overall storm sewer system for any street flooding issues, whether it can be handled as part of this project or whether it has to be a project beyond that. It would also look at the preparing cost estimates for the different sections, including the overall street improvement itself, the bituminous improvement, mill and overlay that we would be looking at, recommendations on the construction, and then also a schedule. This is proposed to be done by the 10th of May, at which time the staff would be able to analyze it and come back with recommendations to the council on how to proceed, what the funding would be for the different portions of the project, and how much we should anticipate in terms of the project limits of getting done during this construction season and what may have to be done at a later time. So all that information would come back to the council then in the early part of May after receiving this report. They have a lump sum cost set there for doing this report of $13,470. And like I say, Ann and I had reviewed this with Tyson from Moore Engineering this afternoon in quite a bit of detail. We're satisfied that what they're proposing encompasses all the areas of concern we have. There will be some work done by city staff working with them to gather information, whether it be on some of the utilities or other items, and we'll incorporate that in an overall project budget. But we would recommend accepting the proposal from Moore Engineering to do the preliminary engineering report for the Vernon Avenue project going from Court to Arlington, and also the half block on Court Street from Lincoln south to the Court Street Bridge, which is the area directly over here, which also has drainage and pavement issues. And that would be our staff recommendation to accept this proposal.
I'll make that motion, but I got a question.
I'll second it.
How much of the 6 to 10 inches, is that for the water? Is that the whole length of Vernon, or is that a certain part of Vernon? I'm kind of, I want to ask that.
I'll say it's pretty much the whole length of Vernon. I don't have that water plan in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it does go probably all the way to at least to Sheridan, if not to Arlington.
It'll be the same as what we're doing kind of over here in Mill Street then, pretty much.
It'll be the same kind of thing where we, our citywide water plan showed we needed to increase water main size on Channing Avenue and like this, and we incorporated it into a project. That's pretty much what we're doing here as far as the water main.
Thank you.
Just had a question, not necessarily related to this project, but seeing the number here reminded me, what's the threshold for when we have to go for bids? Is it 25,000 or is it 75? I don't remember that
Well, this
number.
is different. This is professional services.
Oh, so it doesn't have
So
to...
there's not a limit on here like if you're going out to acquire something through bid or through direct purchase. So the professional services is exempt from that.
What is the, I'm just trying to remember, is it for,
Is it 25,000? 0 to 25,000, you can just go out and purchase. 25,000 to 100,000 is obtaining at least 2 quotes and maintaining them on file, and then over 100,000 is when we start the sealed bid process.
Yeah.
Is that right, Dan?
Yeah, that's correct.
I just couldn't remember the numbers, it just made me up.
Yeah, it's slightly different if you're going to special assess. There's actually some lower limits if you're specially assessed, but yeah, but in general, yep.
What he said about the bidding process, we could, I mean, if they want, we have a big enough project, we could just say, instead of, we got more here and we got interstates, we could ask them to bid a project if we wanted to bid how much it's going to cost, you know, back and forth, or is that something we don't do, or?
It's something we've never done. There's some issues with that. If there's state or federal dollars involved, they usually require us to go through a qualification-based selection process. And that's where essentially you go through, you look at the qualifications, and I don't just mean the professional qualifications because we have 2 qualified firms here in town, but you might look at the qualifications of who they'd have available for an inspector. You might look at the schedule. One maybe could do it sooner than another. You would consider that, then you would select that firm to negotiate a proposal with them. And if you weren't satisfied with any part of that proposal, including the cost, you could then go and talk to the other firm. That's the normal way it's been handled for professional services.
Thank you.
All right, we have a resolution and a second. Roll call, please.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Segros.
Yes.
Lundquist.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Number 2 tonight on resolutions, a resolution to approve Planning Commission recommendation to grant a conditional use permit for automatic maintenance and repair business located at 2521 Pebble Lake Road, Scarrett request. Gordon?
You'll recall that about a month and a half ago, this was brought to you, and it had to wait until the actual zoning was in place. It's a situation where the zoning activity did not have to change unless they changed the zoning for other purposes. They decided they needed to. Once we change the zoning, then we can take this kind of action with a conditional use permit. They're in operation. They've been in operation all this time because they are allowed or grandfathered in to be in operation. So this will just clean it up. It'll give it a new zone, and it'll give it the conditional use permit it needs.
Any questions for Gordon? We have a resolution offered.
That resolution, Your Honor.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Zeigler.
Yes.
Runquist.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Sinstler.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
And third, a resolution to set hearing for Job Z Amendment Business Subsidy Agreement for Shoremaster Incorporated.
At the committee meeting, I talked about having an approval of this. I found out when I went back up to my office that we should have a hearing on it also. This is something that we did with Otter Tail Ag Enterprises long ago. We had a hearing. At that particular hearing, no one showed. And these aren't usually a high activity type of hearing, but we have to hold a hearing, and so I'd like to schedule that for your next meeting.
Resolution to set that hearing? Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Zeigler.
Yes.
Runquist.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Sinstler.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Presentation of claims. Tonight, we have bills in the amount of $1,372,232.66. So I'd entertain a resolution to pay the bills.
Move we pay the bills.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Zeigler.
Yes.
Runquist.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Sinstler.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
We have no board, committee, or department reports tonight. Report from staff and administrative officers. We have a proposed ordinance change regarding background checks. Kyle?
Thank you, Your Honor. From time to time, the police department will do background checks on potential city employees or candidates. We do them on liquor establishments looking for licensure. There's just kind of a host of times when we might do a background check pertaining to city business. The state legislature has kind of indicated a timeline. In the past, we've done this under resolution. They're requiring an ordinance be enacted to conduct these background checks, and that just makes everything coincide with what the requirements are set forth by the FBI for use of that computer system. So tonight, all we need is the council to direct, actually the city attorney, to provide a draft ordinance pertaining to these background checks.
That'd be a motion. What do you want to offer that motion?
Yes, I'll offer that. I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We don't have any old or unfinished business. We do have one item of new business, it looks like. Bill, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. We just received a check from the 544 Foundation for the March 2013 donations for the community arena, $2,291.66. If you would make a resolution accepting that donation. It brings our, what we've received to date of $2,076,631.
All right, would someone offer that motion?
Offer that.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
What's the balance due, Bill?
I don't know offhand, but I know they've paid over half, and I do have that in my office. If it's 1.4, but.
About 1.4?
but I'll look.
Okay.
But I know they're doing well, they're paying ahead actually from what the original schedule was, so that's what I like to see.
All right, roll call.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Cycles.
Yes.
Runquist.
Yes.
Sinston.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Sensland.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
All right, does anybody have any announcements to make? Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I see our library director's here, and I know there's the survey is taking place right now with the Library Renewal Task Force. Aaron, maybe you want to
Come on up and tell us
come
about
out
it.
and tell us a little bit about the, sorry to put you on the spot.
Yes, the library survey did go out March 28th, and it'll run through April 22nd. And we invite community members to take the survey online. You can go to our website and access the survey from there, or else we also have print surveys available for pickup either at the library or at City Hall. And if anybody has any questions, they can call the library and we can direct them. So, thanks.
It
Yes,
did go out in
Jim.
the mail also.
Yes, in the mail as well, yes. They did go out, thank you for reminding. Yes, they went out in the city utility bills, and they can be mailed back in with the payment as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else have any announcements? Then at this point in time, we'll adjourn to a closed meeting.